how does this loan product work? Is it the same thing like a regular loan, like 2 years job experience? What's the job experience like? What do they ask for in order for somebody to apply for this type of loan as well too?
Yeah, so I'm actually glad you bring that up about the tax returns, and that's kind of a misconception a lot of people do have, is that there's these people who are here legally working or here for different jobs that have been brought over to the States, right? And they're doing their taxes, they're filing taxes, they're paying their fair share, they're doing tax returns, like you said, they're getting refunds. But then there's this whole mix of people who that kind of get lost in the mix.
Yeah.
Right. So, and these loans, and, kind of just to touch on your point that, I've actually been able to close one. These programs have been around for years, and they're accessible to most loan officers out there. Our unique situation with myself is I own my own brokerage. So it gives us the ability to be a little more flexible and be able to choose who we want to work with, right? Which financial institutions we know have the better reputation, and be able to built on the relationships that we have of over 20 plus years in the business, we can build on those relationships and be able to put together these packages that actually will work. But to get to your point, these programs it's almost identical to a typical loan, right? You need 2 years tax returns, filed under that ITIN number, right? And that's the key, because a lot of people who maybe got ITIN maybe last year or 6 months ago, but maybe they've been doing taxes under a corporate tax ID number or an EIN number or some different form of doing their taxes. We do need 2 full years of tax returns under that ITIN number, right? We do need 2 years of being at that same job, right? We need to show that and it has to be here in the US, right? It has to show proof that they've been, here in the US. There's pay stubs that can constitute that to show us that there's those tax returns that are super, super important that give us the validity of their income here in the US. So, on top of that, there's other, requirements and whatnot, and we can get into those. It all depends on how much time we have.
Yeah. Can someone go back, like, let's say that they had been working at the same job, but for whatever reason, they just filed for their ITIN number in the last 6 months. Can somebody go back and connect the job history with their ITIN number after the fact? Or is that something that if they haven't been filing under that ITIN number, that they can't basically do that?
So I'm going to answer that a little bit vague, right? And because that's the only way I can answer it, because I'm not a certified tax professional, right? Okay. That does have to do with their CPA or whoever's doing their taxes. As long as they can provide us with those 2 years of tax returns with that ITIN number,
that's all you ask for, basically.
That's all we need. That's all we need. As long as we can validate that, it's up to their CPA to know the tax rules and guidelines. If they can go and back, and file for a previous year or 2 years or 3 years behind, right? As long as they can provide those returns. Yes, as long as they can provide those returns and they're verifiable through the transcripts of the IRS, then we can do that.
So in other words, talk to your accountant in that regard.
Speak to your accountant about that. That's yes.
What you need is basically 2 years of tax returns, and as long as he has that, then essentially that. Okay, good. And then are these loans like 30-year fixed loans? Are they 10 years? Are they 15 years? What's the interest rate like as well too on these types of loans?
Well, and then that's where we have some flexibility, right? And that's what it does work like your typical loan, right? That's where you choose the financial institution that we're working with, and we're looking at pricing, and we're looking at who can give us the better rates. So they're all 30-year loans, right? They're still amortized over 30 years. There's 30-year fixed, there's 5-year fixed, there's ARMs, there's a different range of products that are available within that same sphere of ITIN product.
Okay, so essentially it's very similar to a regular loan. Now, this is what I've heard. I've heard that the interest rate is higher on these type of loan products, and rightfully so, because obviously it's a niche product, meaning that it serves a certain amount of people, and probably investors on the back end want a certain amount of return as well too.